Flamingo Books. Shining English Reader. Series 7. Chapter 15. The Liar. When Laboo came back, however, he limped about and seemed ill. I was very sad to see him broken and dispirited. And I forgot all the scandal I had heard about him in my bafflement at the sudden change that had gone into his character, for he was now no longer the garrulous man who sat telling stories to old men and young boys, but a strangely reticent creature who lay in a stupor all day, moaning and murmuring to himself in a prolonged delirium, except that he occasionally hobbled out with a huge staff in his hand in the evenings. I was afraid to go near him, because he always wore a forbidding, angry look. But the villagers didn't seem to think there was anything the matter with Laboo, as I heard them say, now that we have no patience with him and his stories, he spends most of his time telling them to himself, the fool. I owed a loyalty to Laboo, for I had discovered a kinship in my makeup for all those extravagances for which the shikari was so well known. So I went up to him one day, as he lay on a broken string bed near his mud hut, under the precarious shelter which a young pipal gave him. "You have returned then, Master Laboo," I said. "Yes," he said, "I have been back some time, son. I looked for you, but you did not seem to be about. But you know, the man who is slain cannot walk even to his own house. The leg of mine pains me and I can't get about as I used to." "What happened to your leg, then?" I asked, realizing that he had forgotten all about our past quarrels and was as kind and communicative to me as before. "Did you fall down a cliff or something?" "No," he said in a tired voice. And he kept quiet for a long while. "What happened then?" I persisted. "You know, son," Laboo began, at first pale and hesitant, then smiling and lifting his eyebrows in the familiar manner of the old days, "I went away on a hunting tour in the pay of the Subadar's eldest son, Kuldeep Singh, and some of his friends. Well, we went to Nepal through the Kulu Valley. They had no experience of hunting in this or in any other part of the world, and I led them across such trails as I knew and such as the local shikaris told me about. That boy, Kuldeep, I don't know what he does in the army, but he can't shoot at any range, and the sahibs with him were clumsy, purblind white men. I would point to a beast with my stick, and, though they could see the hide before their eyes, they bungled with their guns or were too noisy on their feet, and away crashed the bull which we had been tracking. I would grunt, shrug my shoulders and did not mind, because they were like children. They had finished hundreds of cartridges and had not shot anything, and daily begged me to help them to secure some game. At first I told them that game doesn't taste sweet unless it is shot by oneself. But at length I took pity on them and thought that I would secure them a good mixed bag. I shot 12 tigers with my gun and 15 panthers in the course of 7 days, and many stags. On the 8th day, we saw a monster which had the body of a bear, the head of a reindeer, the feet of a goat, the tail of a wild bull, and a glistening, fibrous tissue all round it like the white silken veil which the Rani of Bundi wore when she came to visit Subadar Deep Singh's wife. Kuldeep Singh and the sahibs were very frightened of this apparition and said it was the devil himself who had the shape of an earthly being and who would soon breathe a breath which would mix with the still air of the night and poison life. They were all for killing it outright, while I was sure that it was only a princess of the royal house of Nepal who had been transformed by some magician into this fantastic shape and size. And I wanted to catch it alive and bring it home to be my bride. Laboo went on to relate how beautiful she was and how he resolved to restore her to her normal self by reading magical incantations. I told her I loved her, he continued, and she smiled shyly. But some fool, I think it was the Subadar's son, fired a volley of shots, which frightened her so that she ran and became one with the air and began to ascend the snowy peaks of Kailash Parbat. I was bent on rescuing my beloved, and I leapt from one mountain to another calling after her to stop. But that idiot Kuldeep and the sahibs kept on shooting and roused the magician who kept guard over her. And this evil sage threw a huge mountain of snow at me to kill me. I just blew a hot breath and the mountain of snow cracked into a million pieces and hung about the sky like glittering stars. Then the magician struck the earth with his feet and opened up a grave to bury me alive. I leapt right across the fissure and found myself on a peak in the land of the llama who never dies. By now, of course, the magician had hidden the beauty away in some cave. So I gave up the chase, as there was the doom of death about this beauty, anyhow, and I made one leap across the Himalayas for home. And as you landed this side of the mountains you sprained your foot, I said. Lebu lifted his eyebrows funnily in the manner of the old days and, laughing, said, "Have I told you this story before, then?"